And welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I'm a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so we are going to be talking all about this upcoming lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Pisces on the 17th of September. Yes, we are approaching eclipse season, and this is a grand opening, a grand opening when we think about the axis of Virgo and Pisces. You may be feeling some of this as we approach the eclipse. So we think about the lead up. So it could be that certain synchronicities are happening for you right now. It could be that you're feeling extra sensitive or emotional. Maybe some emotional releases are happening for you, especially because over the weekend there we've been having and experiencing the moon in Scorpio. So the moon in Scorpio making those aspects to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces in some way. Right, so yes, let's get into this then. But of course, just before, if you're interested in booking a reading with me, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my astrology products. And so if you would like to join the Patreon, you can do so down below. And of course, I do want to say thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. Hello, Black Butterfly. Welcome to you. I hope you're doing well. Hello to you, Danielle, as well. Hope you're having a lovely weekend. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all of your support on Patreon. Okay, so I just want to do something quickly. Need to do something quickly. Restream decided to update its information, so I need to just adjust something right now. Thank you for your patience. That should be us ready to go. Okay, right. So look here. I want to bring your awareness to all of the oppositions happening. all of these oppositions happening during the lunar eclipse, and I will be explaining what this seesaw effect suggests when we think about the energies at play. But if you just look here, just as an overview, we do have this lunar eclipse really joining up with Neptune. So Neptune is quite a key player during this lunar eclipse. Naturally, Neptune is retrograde, and also these energies, these planets will be opposing the sun, right? So the sun is in Virgo, we're in Virgo season. And then notice here that the dispositor, the other dispositor, the traditional dispositor of the lunar eclipse is in Gemini, really playing a role in this. So we think about how Jupiter is also a key player. And therefore, what is forming is a mutable T-square. And then we see here that Mercury is opposing Saturn retrograde, Venus is opposing Chiron retrograde, and then the Moon and Sun have a bit of a conversation happening with Pluto and Uranus. And then just lastly here, Mars square the nodes. Yes, so that's just a bit of an overview, and we're going to dive in a little bit more, and then we will get to your horoscopes after. So if we go over to the next slide, to JYOTSNA, you say that you have your moon is in Pisces. So I wonder what degree your moon is in. I know from memory, well, I hope I remember, Danielle, I know that your moon is in Pisces, but I think you were saying that this lunar eclipse is going to be quite close to your moon. Yes. Hello, Eddie. Welcome to you. And hello, David. Welcome to you also. Yes, thank you for joining, everyone. Okay, so let's now explore a couple more things before we get into more of the aspects. So this moon would be at 25 degrees, so equivalating to the number 7 in numerology. So we think about creativity, intuition, something very spiritual, something very healing about this lunar eclipse. Very fitting that the lunar eclipse is in Pisces and then Neptune is conjunct it. So as I was saying there earlier, you may be feeling somewhat more emotional or sensitive, or even feeling or being quite intuitive more so on the lead up to this lunar eclipse. There's something here about mystery and embracing the unknown, diving into the unknown, being okay with the mystery, right? And I feel as if Saturn in Pisces has really brought this to the forefront for many of us. So we kind of think about, okay, before Saturn entered Pisces, so this was March 2023 when Saturn did enter Pisces. So before that time period, I do sort of wonder, is it that you thought your life would take a certain path, right? There would be a certain trajectory. But since Saturn entering Pisces from March 2023, is it that you've been learning a lot of lessons to do with embracing the unknown, to do with really accepting the things that you cannot control? Surrender. Hey, surrender is a big, important keyword when we explore the archetype of Pisces, and transcendence as well. Transcendence, really being taken to another plane, if you will, another world. More on that in a moment. But yes, the number 7, I feel, aligns with this kind of stuff. And the number 7 is also about truth. Truth. And well, it can also be a rather moody number, if you will. So in this regard, Pisces can be a rather moody sign. Any of the water signs, I suppose, it involves emotion there. So yes, there could be strong fluctuations, strong highs and lows on the lead up to this lunar eclipse, and there could be what feels like a mighty release. Now, 25 degrees. This is an Aries degree, so there's going to be a bit of a punch, a power, an energetic force to this lunar eclipse. There's also then this theme of new beginnings, right? As I said at the very, very beginning, this is a grand opening. It's a grand opening of a new set of eclipses. I think it's every 8 or 9 years or so that we experience a new sort of axis in this way. So the last time the eclipses happened in Virgo and Pisces was about 8 or 9 years ago. We'll touch more on that in a moment. But then also the decan. This eclipse is happening in the decan of Scorpio. So we've got this Pisces-Scorpio combination. So there's also something very transformative, and there's something here about a renewal, right? A transformative experience, a renewal here. An emotional renewal, perhaps, a spiritual renewal. Now, lunar eclipses, I just want to say, they represent a significant time to let go, but naturally the thing about this is this can last for a longer period of time. The force, the strength, the power of the moon is going to be a bit more potent. It's going to be stronger. So yes, powerful releases. But then also asking ourselves around this eclipse, what is holding you back? And then we think about the Pisces themes. So what is holding you back from embracing the unknown, as an example? Or what is holding you back from surrendering, as another example there? This is also a closing worth paying attention to. So there could be some endings coming up. There could be this feeling of tying up loose ends. But do remember that because this is an opening within itself, Virgo also has something to offer us. So we do really want to think about the axis of both Pisces and Virgo. And I will explain more about that in just a moment. Just want to finish up here with what lunar eclipses represent. Reaping rewards from the past as well. Okay, so maybe if you can think about what's been happening already within your Pisces house, if you will, there could be some kind of reward here. Closing a major chapter, evaluating, reflecting, and most importantly, I'm just going to say, especially because it's a lunar eclipse in Pisces, rest. Rest, my goodness. It's a very restorative restorative lunar eclipse in this sign. Now, before we move on to the next slide, I'm just reading through your comments a moment. Yes, Danielle, you say you've got the moon in Pisces at 27 degrees. Okay, yeah, very, very close to this eclipse. So pretty important for you. Oh, and there we go. There's somebody else with the same degree as you. Very interesting. And welcome to Rich Forever. Welcome to you. Clever. Welcome to you as well. You said it's 24 degrees for you and it's squaring your Sagittarius ascendant. Okay, have I said hello to everybody? I think I have. Okay. Let's now turn our focus to some important dates. Maybe good to screenshot this if you're on your phone. You can jot it down. I like to use pen and paper sometimes to have the notes. Right. Important dates. Let me just move a couple of things about here. Yes. So the last set of eclipses on this axis of Virgo and Pisces was 2015 to 2017. So maybe try and think back to that time period. And I'm just going to ponder over this or on this just a moment. Actually did not prepare in this way. So I'm trying to think what was happening for me around that time period. Well, I suppose I did discover astrology in 2016. It was 2016. I would say that aligns with maybe following more of an open, somewhat spiritual path. I'm not trying to say that I'm a super spiritual person. It's just the way I want to describe that is maybe just seeing things in a different light than previous. And maybe with astrology, that has helped me gain greater perspective about my spiritual values and what I need in order to support myself there. Yeah. Now, so these eclipses. So yes, think for yourself. Think about what happened for you. Okay, we'll go with spirituality. We'll think about service, healing, thinking also about the physical world as well with Virgo. So this could be being more health conscious. This could also be about the mind, body, soul connection to a great extent, because both signs together really show up as this. So maybe even just think about any important chapters or events that happened between those years for you with respect to those themes. Okay. These eclipses then that we're about to approach in Virgo and Pisces are from September 2024 until February 2027. So we're coming around again. This lunar eclipse then in Pisces opens this set of eclipses. Now we think about Jupiter. Jupiter is in Gemini here. So as I was saying earlier, there is this T-square happening. Now, this can make things a little bit more muddled, I think, because Gemini as a sign is much more logical. Much more logical. It tends to get really curious about things and question things. And so we may, of course, find ourselves, really questioning what our spiritual values are. We think about our belief systems, our worldviews as well. But maybe as one part of us is more wanting to find out the facts and the figures and the information, there's another part of us that has to just kind of embrace that, hey, maybe there's another path here. Maybe there's another way to sort of embrace that unknown quality. And in general, this really looks at the flexibility, to be really flexible and open, to be open to change. It's a very changing time period. So, whether this be changing our career path, changing our relationships, this could be changing the way that we work out or take care of ourselves. So, change is a big part of this eclipse. And I think Jupiter in Gemini also welcomes the curiosity to get curious about certain changes we want to make, especially within our Gemini house. When we think about how Jupiter has been traveling through Gemini, it could be this whole thing of feeling like we're divided or feeling like we're living two separate lives. Duality is a big keyword when we explore Gemini, and even Pisces itself. It's a very dual sign. It's a sign of polarity. You know, as one fish is swimming up the ways, and well, as one fish is swimming in one direction, the other fish is swimming in the opposite direction, and they are tied together by a cord. So maybe some grounding can be helpful around this time period. There could be some confusion, I think, about the next step. Sort of maybe overthinking, overanalyzing there, especially with Virgo involved. Yes, we may find ourselves getting muddled, but hold tight. You know, the answers will become clearer. Information will come. Okay, so Virgo then will close these eclipses, and Mercury will be retrograde in Aquarius at that time. So just wanted to highlight that. So you can maybe even look into the future a little bit and see what the astrology says there. And then naturally with this lunar eclipse, we have both Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, which we're going to get into. And just lastly, I want to say the next eclipse on this axis is going to happen in 2025. So that's going to be March time, I believe. And that lunar eclipse will happen in Virgo, in which the dispositor of that moon, Mercury, will be in Aries. Okay, let's now get into the actual astrology. So I just wanted to let you know that information, just in case you may find it to be helpful, to be useful, completely up to you. Lots of breast. Yes, that sounds like a great plan. Katura, welcome to you. Hello, you say you've got a Pisces rising, so this is all happening in your first house. Very important there. Francisco, hello to you. Welcome everyone. Okay, I'm now moving over to this section. So I want you to actually think back to January 2023. There was the new moon in Aquarius that happened. And I know that's not Pisces, but it's just that with the sphere of influence, it was quite close then to that 1 degree. So maybe in some ways, this lunar eclipse, when we combine that with the Aquarius energy, Aquarius is reminding us to see things from a more logical place as well. Because with Pisces, we may, around this time, become really swept away by our feelings. Maybe also it's trying to get a grasp of reality. That's a big important part, I think, of this lunar eclipse. Because with Neptune in Pisces, the lines can be blurred. So maybe it can be of a beneficial thing to just reflect a little bit and maybe even think a bit about how, I would even say since 2011, right, since Neptune has been in Pisces, how have you been deceived or disillusioned? Are you able to recognize that? Have there been burst your bubble moments, or even those moments where you've had to take off your rose-colored glasses? Oh my goodness, that just came to me. That's interesting because I was saying earlier that the last time the eclipses in Virgo and Pisces happened, that was between 2015 and 2017. And I can remember during those years taking off my rose-colored glasses, if you will, when it came to my relationships. Now, uh, without getting too personal, I would still say that I can be like that even today, but not as strongly as I was back then. Maybe a part of this is that, with Pluto being in Capricorn too, and with it also making a sextile to Neptune, rationality can be our friend. Rationality. Okay. And I just mean that in terms of, if you do recognize where maybe you've been living in la la land, or where you may be disillusioned, feel like you're being disillusioned or deceived in some way, maybe that rationality can kick in, where it's like, okay, time to have a reality check. Rationality renewals may occur, just seeing things for what they are, not for what you sort of wish them to be. And don't get me wrong, I get that wishful thinking, and dreaming and things like this, and visualizing all these beautiful Pisces themes can be beautiful, really, really beautiful. They can. But perhaps, just perhaps, the sun being in Virgo also kind of asks us, how can we do so constructively? How helpful are our fantasies? Do they really align with reality very well? And also, how helpful are our fascinations and sacrifices? This could be a big theme, actually, for around this lunar eclipse. So, thinking about self-sacrifice, martyrdom, how might you martyr yourself? This is a good time to untangle yourself from those times, right? To untangle yourself from the disillusionment, to clear the space, clear the air. But I would also say here to be gentle, right? To really be gentle. Now, don't get me wrong, Pisces, even as a sign, can really suffer from its own mental loops, and the thoughts and the unconscious and everything that can happen. Pisces can be a sign of great suffering. There can be a lot of sorrow and melancholy involved here around this lunar eclipse. And maybe in this way, it is important not to judge ourselves, right? To not judge ourselves. It's just to kind of see that our emotions, they do come and go, if you will, right? Emotions don't, they you have to let them flow. You need to let them flow and try to not judge them, criticize them. Emotions serve a purpose, no matter what the emotion is. So maybe there is something to be said about gentleness. Forgiveness as well could be a big thing here. So, with all this being said, okay, I want you to also remember that there is something that's being illuminated, right? There's something that's being illuminated during this full moon, that, the seeds rather were planted. The seeds were planted around January of 2023. So this time period is it is a release, it's a shift. Maybe it's a good opportunity for us to really surrender, right? To surrender. It's all this unknown stuff. And maybe even a part of it is just to let it be, right? What will be, will be. It's this kind of stuff to do with Pisces. And maybe a part of that then is tied to Virgo, right? The sun in Virgo, yes, the sun in Virgo can be an anchoring part of it. The sun in Virgo can provide some kind of support in terms of helpfulness. But the sun in Virgo can also maybe act as a reminder to not be so hard on ourselves. And maybe this is also where that gentleness can come in. Okay, so now let's move on to our next slide here. Let me see. Hello to Wavy, welcome. And Danielle, your 11th house of friendships. You can be that way with friends. That's, at least you were like that. You've learned your lesson. Okay. Okay, interesting. So thank you for sharing. That really makes sense with the 11th house activation for you. And Sharma, welcome to you. So you've got Sun and Moon in Sagittarius and then a Leo rising. Oh, a lot of fire for you. Welcome. Okay, moving on here. Right. Another thing I want to say about this full moon is Mercury will oppose Saturn. I was saying earlier that there's a lot of oppositions happening. So this is about really balance, isn't it? This delicate balance between reality and fantasy, between the spiritual and the physical, between the everyday and the unknown. Where might you go too far to one side? Right? Because I'll give you an example. When we lean too far toward the side of Virgo, we can be so stuck on times and perfection and it needs to be this way, right? We can be so set on a particular routine, but whenever we lean too far toward the Pisces side, we may not have any kind of routine, right? We may just float from one thing to the next, no sense of direction, no focus. And when we think about it from both angles, so if we were to lean too far toward the Pisces side and not really allow for the practical side of now, of course, there is a side to Pisces that can be practical, don't get me wrong. But if we lean too far toward the idealistic side of Pisces, toward the I'm just going to do whatever, whenever side with no real practicality, with no real time restraints and things like this, limits, then, well, things can get pretty messy really quickly. You know, you may not pay certain bills on time. You may not show up to work. you might I don't maybe overdo something, so you could overuse a certain substance, for example, right? Because there's no real need or urgency there to look after the everyday stuff. But then if we were to lean too far toward the Virgo side, well, then we can be quite controlling. and, we can be really hard on ourselves and very critical of other people. It can seem as if other people need to meet our requirements. And yeah, oh, hope I didn't freeze there. I hope I'm okay. I hope I'm okay. So that then can also not be the best thing. It wouldn't really make you a very likable person, I guess, especially as well if we're trying to interfere and we're trying to, micromanage people and this kind of stuff. Yeah, that doesn't really scream likable. So we want to balance. We want to find a nice sort of balance between these signs. And then another thing in this way, what I was saying earlier, it's this mind, body, soul connection. Try to tune in with your body. Tune in with your body around this lunar eclipse. This could be a push and pull between the very obvious and the hidden. Listen calmly to the subtle messages. Can you look further than is right than what is right in front of you? Okay. There could be something that you're not really recognizing or noticing, and maybe a part of it is just to be open. It's to be open to possibilities and to establish a heart connection as well, I think is a big theme. I'm going to say something here, right? And I think this may align a little bit with what I was previously saying, but in a recent yoga class, I cried in that yoga class. So I didn't mean to cry. I didn't think I would. I didn't even realize that yoga could do that, but I did. I cried, and then I, of course, started looking up more information about yoga and its benefits and things like that. And that is something apparently that yoga can really help with. It can help us with our emotions. So, emotions are often trapped in the body, but through movement, such as yoga, such as Pilates, whatever even it is that you really enjoy. I'm sure there are many, many more kinds of exercises you can do, but even massage as well. I'm thinking of massage can be really helpful. But yes, through movement, we can then sort of release those knots, right? It's those sort of emotional knots. And I was reading something and it said that meditation is sort of like you addressing the mental knots, and then yoga is addressing the emotional knots. So maybe even think about that, right? That's another thing. Meditation. Meditation, which, by the way, it doesn't have to be done where you take 20 minutes out of your day just to be silent. And meditation, I think, can be done even if you're washing the dishes, even if you're going for a run, even if you're in work and it's a break for you, whatever it is, we can meditate, right? It's just bringing more of this kind of self awareness to the mind, and to just not listen to the noise, to even just allow the noise, so to speak, to flow, to float, to float across like a cloud, even. So this is an important thing, I think, because Pisces sort of can help us with this, if you will, because whilst Virgo is this earth sign and Virgo is about tuning in with the body, well, the mind is still a part of the body, I know, but Virgo can get caught up in so much chatter, so much chatter. I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, right? And that's another thing. When we lean too far towards Virgo, when do you ever really get to live? You're just planning, just plan, plan, plan. Okay, task, 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 tick, 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 tick. And then what, you get to the end of your life and you think, oh, well, I just spent my whole life according to a to-do list. It's that sort of energy, right? So Pisces kind of brings us some time, if you will, to let go, to have times where there isn't really a checklist, a to-do list, so to speak. And hey, at the same time, I want to acknowledge that this stuff I talk about, that is easier said than done, because we do live in a world where it's somewhat impossible, especially as you get older, especially as you become an adult, especially as you get it, you have a career or you have children. My goodness, when your responsibilities, they stack up, then yes, it becomes so much harder. But I think the other point I'm trying to get to here is that the spiritual stuff can be intertwined. It can be brought down to the physical, if you will, or into it. It can be woven. It can be woven into your everyday lives. And that could be through breath work, for example. That could be through meditation. That could be through, going to a yoga class a couple times a week, whatever it is for you. Maybe listening to nice music, a nice podcast that soothes you, whatever gets you connecting with your body in this way and out of your mind a little bit, and connecting with the heart, And I think that's why I cried during the yoga session, was because I really tuned in with my heart. And it was grief, honestly. It was grief. So yes, let's now think about Venus and Libra, opposite Chiron. Oh, how fitting. How fitting that Venus is opposite Chiron, given what I've just said. Healing, healing, mending relationships. Reconciliation could be a big thing. Seeing any imbalances. This could even be imbalances within the body, right? imbalances within the body, and a little bit of action, movement to help us address those imbalances. And desiring beauty is another thing. The truth will eventually come out. It is time to come clean. Okay, next slide. And this leads us on to, oh, Eddie, you said it releases muscle tension. I love that. Yes. Hey, you just reminded me there. Is it a lot of people do ice baths, don't they? I've seen that that's quite popular now. Ice baths are going to, is it a sauna where it's really, really hot? Yeah, it just made me think about the muscle tension stuff. Okay, next, if I move this over. Right. So many oppositions. This seesaw energy happening, folks. Okay. Now, the beautiful thing, we just want to say this, the beautiful thing about so many oppositions, when we think about the seesaw effect, is actually we can use this to our benefit. There can be some issues that are resolved around this lunar eclipse. It could be a good time to negotiate. So, I'm just going to give an example. Let's say that you've been thinking about a promotion or you've been thinking about a new job and maybe you've been exploring your options. And there's a couple of people who have, okay, well, this is our offer, right? Good time to negotiate then. Good time to really think about, let me sit on this, let me think about this. This could also apply to selling a house, for example. Maybe this could also be a good time to negotiate when we think about client relationships and business partnerships there. Though another thing is, it can maybe feel like we're living two lives, two separate lives. It's this kind of energy. It can maybe even feel as if, we recognize more clearly that the kind of person we are or present ourselves to be within a career setting is going to be so much different to how we present ourselves to be in a private setting. So I'll even say here, I was recently at an event with my family, and I was definitely louder, and I think it's that whole thing of, because you're so comfortable with your family. I was a lot quicker to say things. And then I get back and I'm like, I don't feel like that was me. But it's like, it is me. It is me. It's all me. It's all relevant. It's just that we behave differently in front of certain people, just depending on who it is, and that's okay, right? So anyway, this is an energy then with all these oppositions where these things may become more prominent, this stuff of, oh, okay, I can see the way I am here, I can see the way I am there. But then it could also be a case of which direction here. And maybe in this regard, there are a few decisions to be made. Maybe there's something about making a firm and trusted decision about your direction. It could be a whole thing of which way. Okay. It could feel like a bit of a balancing act, right? But then let's throw this T-square into the mix with Jupiter. What does Jupiter do? Jupiter acts as the bringer of truth, the bringer of wisdom. Jupiter says, look at the bigger picture of the situation. Can you do that? It's not actually a black and white answer. Some things are bigger than you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Do you know what? There are some things in life that just can't be fixed. There's some things in life that there's not a remedy for, there's no help book for it. It just is what it is, right? I think Jupiter teaches us this here and has something to say about, just let it be. Let it be. What's that whole saying? Let the cards fall where they may. Is that the saying? But seriously, just let it be. I mean, this could be a situation and you're stressed out about it. You're like, when will this happen? Why is this not going my way? Da 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 da. Jupiter, I think, can even act as a bit of a mentor and just say, you don't have all the answers right now, and that's perfectly fine. Just have faith in your path, right? Be open to expansion, be open to opportunity, see where the opportunities are, and then, you'll make your decision from there. You will know what to do when the time is right. we do, we do what we can with the information we have at the time. Think that's something that I'm trying to learn. I think that helps us with judgment, right? Because we can often look back and think, oh, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I speak up? Why didn't I say that thing? But then you have to kind of reflect and go, well, you were doing what you could with the information that you had at the time. If you had known, right? Hindsight, that's the whole thing. Hindsight is 2020. If you had known what you knew back then you wouldn't have made the certain decisions that you made at the time to lead you to where you are now anyway, right? Yes. But then it also got me thinking as I was preparing for this, ignorance really is bliss. Ignorance is bliss, you know? Because I think, especially in a world where self-awareness is a big thing, I think it can also be, it can be a lot to be too self-aware, right? To be so, mindful of so many things, and you're just like, oh, I wish I could just go back to that previous version and just be ignorant because now it's just too much. Yes, but also I'd say here that there are, the thing about ignorance is bliss is there are certain things that could come to light, and those painful truths, they could be painful truths for a lot of people. So that can be a lot, right? So thinking, about information, feedback that you receive where you're just like, what? And mhm, I have seen this firsthand over the past couple of weeks, right? And it makes me question sometimes. I'm like, is my life a movie? Because this is too much. Can I not just go back to being in the dark, please? But hey, that is life. That is life. So just, I'm just really sharing this as a way to hopefully, you know, like help support and soothe anybody out there who may be feeling a bit like, the whole stuff to do with Pisces, the disillusionment stuff, the deceptive stuff. Taking off our rose-colored glasses can be challenging at times. Okay, last slide. And then we're going to get into your horoscopes. We're going to get into your horoscopes, I promise. Indeed. Yes, David, you say inner child coming out. And Eddie, Dice Bath and Sauna, they help as well. Oh, Black Butterfly, you said that you have definitely cried during yoga as well. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so last slide. Pluto is doing its thing. Pluto is retrograde. It's in Capricorn for the last time, for one final time before it leaves for another 200 and something years. Right. The closing of a chapter, folks. This is the closing of a chapter to do with respect, to do with integrity, learning from other people's karma as well is a big Pluto retrograde and Capricorn thing, and connecting that in with Virgo and Pisces. So integrating the lessons learned since around 2008, hopefully you can maybe reflect a little bit and consider, okay, how have things matured? How have things really grown within your Capricorn? How's thinking about structure, responsibility there? Also, it takes a wise person to learn from other people's mistakes, I think. Then again, you could also argue that, hey, you know what? Mistakes happen and that's all part of the experience. And then it's learning from that experience itself. Just really, I suppose it depends on how you look at things. So, yes, there is something here about closing a chapter with respect to integrity. And our inner authority is a big theme. even just to reflect on myself just a moment, I have noticed that since Pluto re-entered Capricorn, that was on the 1st of September, I have felt a bit of a push to finish a certain product that I had started about a month ago, but I'm still sort of like, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to complete it or not. But maybe the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it could feel like there's a part of you during this Pluto retrograde and with the eclipse. It could feel like there's a part of you that's sort of like, oh, I need to go back. I haven't quite finished that yet, but maybe you don't even know if you want to finish that project. Okay. And that stuff I think will be connected in with success and achievement and responsibility when we think about Capricorn. Now, Uranus then is also connecting with the sun and moon in some ways. So there could be flashes of insight that will not let you rest. There could be these intuitive hits. Take time to patiently explore your values and how they have changed. Life circumstances to do with money and security have really shaken us up and made us more aware of how we would like to plan for our futures. And I can see that for myself. I can definitely see that for myself. Security and stability have been major priorities for me recently. All right. So we see here then a kite pattern is also being formed. So this is going to be our main focus throughout your horoscopes will be our point of focus with Neptune and the moon, because hey, these bodies show this activation point within the kite pattern, and Neptune with the moon here really about transcendence, forgiveness. My goodness, we really are very, very hard on ourselves, aren't we? Maybe do you think, yeah, that's that saying of you are your own worst enemy? I think that can run true for many people. We can be our own worst enemy, especially with the Sun in Virgo, right? We're sort of maybe reminded here to, going back to what I was saying earlier, to be gentle with ourselves. Forgiveness, letting go, dissolving, allowing for old habits to dissolve. Yes. Set yourself free from the compulsion to help others, right? That compulsion. Yes. Not to say don't help others, it's just more about our own compulsions there. How do you rescue others unknowingly? Or how is it that you might wear rose-colored glasses? So there's something quite freeing then, I think, about this lunar eclipse, especially when we involve Virgo in it, right? Because Virgo does act as more of that reality checker. Hey, you could also argue Saturn is a big part of this. Saturn is in Pisces after all. It is still connecting a bit in some ways with the lunar eclipse, right? I mean, it is still opposing Mercury, and Mercury is in Virgo. So I think the reality check stuff runs true with Saturn being there. I think as well, being patient there, our security is also really highlighted. It's very karmic. It's a very, very karmic time. And that karma could, be tied to a whole new chapter. Last thing, the nodes are squaring Mars. So there could be some tension when we deny our boundaries or when others disrespect our boundaries. Mars in Cancer can be very protective. Yes. You think about Mars is about protection. How we defend ourselves, really. How we defend ourselves. Mars can be about anger. So if it feels around this lunar eclipse like people are disrespecting us, that Mars and Cancer energy can sort of say, not today. No, I'm kind of thinking of that saying, and I'm only saying this because I've heard it multiple times on a TV show, F around and find out. It's that thing, F around and find out. Yeah. So safe to say, just be cautious a little bit around this lunar eclipse as well. Others' emotions can be very heightened. Let's just say that. People can be very reactive. It can be a very reactive time period. Yes. Right. Now let's get into your horoscopes. Okay. So if I come out of here, if I come out of here, awesome. Just give me a moment and I'll prepare. Oh, very squeaky. Hello, Casio. Welcome to you. Thanks for being here. And hey, that's all good. And Eddie, your Mars return right now. Okay, let's get myself set up. Right, I'm just gonna enlarge the screen. Just to let you know, I will read through the chat every so often, but I am gonna make my screen bigger so I can see. I'm not ignoring you. Okay. Righto. First up, then, we've got you, Aries. Well, so this eclipse is happening in your 12th. Well, I'm just from the top of my head here, Aries. I just think that let's think about even since 2011. My goodness. The rose-colored glasses stuff that I was just mentioning, I think that you've really had to address this stuff. You've had to really think about and reflect upon, okay, when have I been deceiving myself? And maybe that can really frustrate you, because I think, Aries, you're the kinds of people, right? You're this sign who I think you do take people at their word. I think that you really enjoy genuine connections because you yourselves can be very genuine people. So anytime that you may betray yourself, or others betray you, or they're deceptive in any way, I think you can take that as, oh my goodness, how, really how. And maybe you can also get really very emotional about this kind of stuff. So honestly, it could feel like a really emotional time. I'm just going to say this, Aries, around this lunar eclipse, just really being in your feelings. Maybe it is important just to let your emotions flow and to try and not judge them, and just to sit with them when you can. But also, it could be a good opportunity for you to rest, a bit of relaxation, time to really recharge, and maybe even take on some kind of healthy spiritual practice. There could even be some significant release to do with the spiritual practice that you've already been practicing there. This could also be some kind of closing of a chapter here to do with the way you are even behind the scenes whenever you're alone. There could be like a finalizing kind of energy, if you will, or there could be this energy of no more. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not playing around like this anymore. I'm done, right? And maybe even such matters could be tied to an addictive tendency, something addictive, some sort of habit that seems uncontrollable, right? So you may be able to get a grasp a little bit of reality there. There could be some reality checks that come up around this lunar eclipse, that help you shed, that help you release and let go. And then naturally, when we think about this Virgo energy being in the sixth, I think then this stuff that I talk about has something to also say. It has something to say about your health and your well-being. I think if there's one sign that really will show up as the mind, body, soul connection stuff that I've been talking about throughout this video, I think it's you. I think you're the sign who will really come to terms with that. Um, and also, it could be about this balance between your everyday life, your working life, the services you provide, your routines, your habits, etc. There's that balance there with that stuff versus more of that behind the scenes solitude stuff, right? Yes. Where, do you know what? Maybe there is even a part of it where you're trying to find that time where you don't, like let's just say as an example here, where you just have a day off, just a day off, and it's not so planned out, it's not so structured. Maybe you're looking for that Aries, right? You're looking for some more of that in your life where you can just go with the flow a little bit more. Not with the astrology the way it is. I want to think about how um Jupiter is in the third house, and it's part of this T square. So perhaps Jupiter can act as a bit of a mediator, if you will, between the everyday versus the behind the scenes stuff, in that, maybe you can be a bit more concerned about connections with your peers, your classmates, with your friends, your childhood friends, your siblings, right? Maybe it's a good time to socialize a little bit, maybe to ask people what they think, how they're doing a little bit there, to get out of your head a bit, maybe there, because it may feel a wee bit like it is just all consuming, right? It's just a lot to think about. It's like, oh, I've got all this stuff going on at my job, and it's how to make time for this and that. It could just feel like you're spinning a lot of plates, if you will, around this time period. So yeah, maybe it's good to vent, or maybe it's good to just even ask for advice or to get some kind of support there. Okay, so Taurus. Just Taurus. Sorry, just give me a moment. I have to bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Yes. Where are we? Lunar eclipse. Excuse me. Taurus. Let's see. Okay. Okay, great. So, Taurus. Let me just adjust times. Right, so Taurus, we see here that this lunar eclipse is happening in your 11th house. Radio. So, the interesting thing for Taurus here is that this is so much about quality, like quality friendships, quality communities, substance, the substance of a friendship, of a team. I think this is also showcasing your dedication and your determination within a certain organization that maybe you work for, right? There could be that, or thinking about the structure and the foundation of a team or a group there, or a network. But you see, this lunar eclipse then has something to say about seeing through any deception, seeing through any disillusionment, taking your rose-colored glasses off, so to speak. Now, hey, at the same time, Pisces can also be about being a visionary, okay? Showing great visualization, thinking about the future, your hopes and wishes for the future. It could be about extending great kindness and love and compassion toward your fellow man, or toward people within your social circle there. This could be a really hopeful sort of time where you're really thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to build? How do I want to grow spiritually with my friends or within my clubs and groups there? Even if it is that you want to build or form your own community, for example, or just thinking about how you show up, in this really supportive, loving, generous way. Naturally, with that being said, there could be a big release to do with healing in this regard, or there could be something about transcendence, really transcending something that no longer serves you there. Or we think here about your wildest dreams and fantasies. these these factors could come into the equation. Your emotional freedom could come into the equation as well. But then we join this in with all of the Virgo stuff in the fifth house. So I kind of wonder, you know, is it that there's a certain way that you want to express yourself? Is there a creative project that you're working on? Is there a certain hobby or a form of entertainment or enjoyment that you really, really like, that brings you happiness, that brings you joy? It's very pleasurable to you. And maybe, there's a bit of this where you're second guessing yourself or you're criticizing yourself. Maybe you're being a bit hard on yourself about the creative process. Maybe you feel slightly blocked creatively. That could be a part of it. Maybe you even worry about, oh, well, what if I say this? Or what if I, maybe upset this person? And maybe you just don't want to rock the boat so much, or you may find yourself just unconsciously stepping into these sacrificing roles where you sacrifice your own needs and desires for the group. That could be a thing. So I would just say here, remember, that your individuality also matters within it all. It could just be your own sort of fears that are hindering you in some way, that are, telling you all these kinds of things, all these false stories, to be quite honest. Pisces as an archetype can live in this delusional world, where, you make up certain stories and narratives about yourself, about others. And that's not actually, rooted in the reality of the situation. And I think, when we combine this Taurus in with the fact that Chiron is in the 12th, I feel like I'm being pulled to this a bit just to explain. I would do this for every sign, but honestly, I'd be here for a very long time if I was to go through every single part. But I think with Chiron in the 12th, you are extra sensitive, especially opposite Venus. I think you are extra sensitive here, Taurus, to criticism. I think you're extra sensitive to, people's feedback and how that can maybe trigger your own identity there or your own fears. So just try to be kind to yourself around this lunar eclipse. And hey, this could also be quite an exciting thing. There could be so much that's on the horizon here, so many opportunities here to do with communities and teams and groups there. Then we also throw into it, of course, with Jupiter being in the second house. I just want to mention, of course, that Jupiter is the other dispositor of the lunar eclipse. So Jupiter is in the second, and I do think that you are bringing some kind of truth and understanding to your income and your resources. I think there is a lot of knowledge that you're gaining, and that's good, right? So maybe it's good to kind of look at Jupiter as a bit of a support there, as a bit of a support in that, you've already learned so much. Maybe you have more questions. You have more questions about, okay, how am I gonna save for this or earn this, or how can I support myself in this way? And that's okay, to keep trusting that, with time things are going to become more clear. It's an interesting one because, Saturn and Jupiter, they will continue to do this square dance, so to speak, over the next number of months. So it is important just to be patient, right? The answers you need, they will come in time. The information will become more clear there about your physical resources. And I know, with you, Taurus, you're all about stability there. Okay, so Gemini. Gemini. Oh, I need to change something. Sorry, give me a moment. And I will read through the chat in a moment. I'm just going through some signs before I do that. Gemini. Okay, so this lunar eclipse is happening in your 10th house, right? Well, Gemini, you're certainly one of the signs that may be feeling this the most. Okay, and what I mean by this is it's just so apparent that your life trajectory, that your career path, your lifelong mission, so to speak, it's so apparent that these things are being activated, and you may have so many questions about the future right now. And maybe things are not actually very clear. Maybe there's something here about being so overwhelmed, bombarded by information, and there could be something quite anxious or nervy or stressful about this time period for you, especially because the sun and Mercury are both in your fourth, right? So your emotional state, your emotional landscape may be shaken up quite a bit. Maybe there's something here about overanalyzing, overthinking, stressing yourself out, worrying a bit. Of course, Mercury is your chart ruler, and already, Gemini, you are ruled by Mercury. And with Mercury as a planet, it can be quite fidgety and nervy, especially whenever you don't really have a clear understanding or a clear view. And those matters then are tied in with the career stuff. So I'm just even going to say here, and this is just going purely off maybe intuition. Be mindful around this lunar eclipse. Be mindful of the contracts that you sign, the things you agree to with employers. We think about your professional life here showing up. So just make sure that you have all the facts that you need. Now, it could be that things are pretty sound because, after all, Mercury is direct. Mercury will be out of its shadow, its post-shadow period, and it could be that all the boxes are ticked for you, and you're like, right, boom, 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 boom. But still, just if you can, try to just see things for what they are, and just to be more in the know about this professional stuff. Okay. Also, I suppose with the same token, Neptune energy can show up as like con artists, swindlers, this sort of energy. People who may try to take advantage. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you would be the first sign to call that out. Be very quick to call that out and say no. But it's just the behind the scenes stuff. It's the things that you may not see. So yeah, maybe just to be a bit cautious there. Perhaps this stuff I talk about could also be tied to feeling fatigued, feeling a bit burnt out, needing a bit more rest, maybe because you are feeling overwhelmed by a lot of it. Maybe there's pressure. Maybe you feel a lot of pressure right now, Gemini, to perform, to achieve, to be all these things, right? It's like that whole thing of, oh, I want to have it all. I want to have it all. And maybe you're just having to come to terms with, do you know what? There's only so much I can do in a given day. There's only so much. And the whole thing that's, preached with like success and achievement and hustle, 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 maybe you're really starting to take a step back from a lot of that, Gemini. Really question it and think about the quality and the value of the work that you do. And maybe you don't actually want to work that many hours, right? You're like, I don't want to just be busy for the sake of being busy. maybe you, with Jupiter in your first house right now, you're really starting to question, you're starting to question what you want, right? What do you want? What are your goals? What are your ambitions? Maybe these things are really starting to change for you. But then what also comes to my mind is that whole saying of work smarter, not harder, right? And I know a few Gemini folks in my life who have said this to me multiple times. So it could be that whole saying that really comes up for you. So this could be some kind of mighty shift, a mighty change. It could be a change of perspective, actually. This could be a really healing, a profoundly healing time when we consider the workload, when we consider your responsibilities, Gemini. So there is that. So, yes, maybe Jupiter in your first house sort of speaks to some of that, well, healthy logic, healthy rationale, exploring your options, exploring your choices, and the whole thing of the truth, right? The truth will come with time. The truth will be revealed. And just maybe even here, the last thing I want to say, because there is Virgo energy in the fourth, it could be that you're also trying to get yourself organized, right? Maybe it could be a useful time just to get a few things in order. Um, Maybe look at the storage of things, what you want to clean up, to create space, clear some space. Maybe that's the thing, clear some space around this lunar eclipse. After all, there will be eclipses that will continue in the fourth and the 10th houses for you. But I think that a big key part of it is to think about what you're letting go of, what habits you're letting go of. Could be unhealthy habits, naturally. You're letting go of to do with your working life, your professional life, should I say, your professional life. Okay, so Cancer. Right, Cancer. I actually just want to say here, before we explore the eclipse itself, Cancer, Mars is in your first here. So I guess you could say around this lunar eclipse, you're pretty active. You've got a lot going on. Maybe you have certain goals in mind. Maybe it's that you're feeling extra overwhelmed or stressed out because even the things that you don't feel like doing, you're forced to do them. You're just kind of being thrown in at the deep end. Could be that sort of energy. But hey, do you know what I'm going to say here, Cancer? You may be a sign, and I'm only saying this because I know of Cancerians, so people who have Cancerian energy in my life, but you may be a sign that can really become somewhat stressed out or overwhelmed by so much, so much busyness, etc. But you also are very, very resilient people. Oh my goodness. You can fluctuate then in your mood, right? So your mood could be like, oh no, I don't want to do this. Oh, I can't be, but actually you can do it. You can you can be such determined people. Um Very tenacious, very tenacious. When you want something enough, you will hold on to it with all your might, right? And you'll not let go. So yeah, there is that. I just wanted to say that. Okay, so I want to think about this lunar eclipse happening in the ninth. There's a lot to be said about legal matters, uh, courses, programs, classes, right? Further, or sorry, should I say higher education? Higher education. Maybe you're a Cancerian and you're like, you know what? I really want to get my master's. Or what is it? Doctorate? Oh, goodness, pronunciations. But yes, you want to really gain those qualifications. Or you could be a Cancerian and you're like, I really want to travel to this destination. Like, it's speaking to my soul. It's speaking to me. I really, really want to go. But naturally, kind of similar, of course, with the other signs, but there is a bit of a waiting game here with Saturn, right? Saturn does still say, okay, well, you gotta be patient, you gotta put in the work, okay, you gotta be practical in some ways. So just remember that. And I suppose Mars in the first house as well, that gives a bit of fuel, a bit of fire, this fire in your stomach. But still, yes, this could be a lunar eclipse that really starts to bring all of this to light. Maybe things do become more clearer to you, or you feel this pull, this strong sense of urgency, this shift in you starts to really happen, and things will start to obviously unfold with time. But naturally, as well, with the Virgo energy happening in the third house, you're also being pretty up to speed with the details. I think there is some kind of, okay, let's analyze this. Let's see, right, what are the facts? What's the usefulness of this plan, or of going here, or of this educational program? It's still being somewhat practical about everything. Maybe it's even looking at your skill set, right? So, how you can enhance, how you can further your skills, so how you can improve, really, right? How you can improve within a certain area of expertise. So, this I think could be a highly educational time, right? Whenever the third and the ninth houses are being activated by eclipses, especially, there's a lot to do with education. I think a lot to do with education. Um, and I would also say there's something to be said about your relationships. So relationships with siblings and cousins, your in-laws as well. So those kinds of relationships may really be highlighted in some way, shape, or form. And then naturally as well, travel is a big part of this. And sure, this could be literally traveling to other destinations. It could be some so a faraway destination that you really, really want to travel to with the lunar eclipse in the ninth. But this could also be more of a local travel situation. Maybe some of you finally decide to learn how to drive, or it's that you upgrade your car, or maybe, this skill set stuff is somehow tied to travel there, right? Maybe even learning how to repair a car or a bike or something like that. But yeah, so travel and vehicles could be a part of this too. And then actually with Jupiter in the 12th house, well, Jupiter in the 12th, let me just, sorry. Okay. Jupiter in the 12th, I think, speaks to your inner truth, your inner wisdom. And you know what? Trying to focus more on, right, don't worry about it, don't stress about it. It'll all work out. Try not catastrophize. Things will just run their course. Things will happen when they're going to happen. Some things, as I was saying earlier, some things are bigger than you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe there is some freaking out for some Cancerians, because it's like, when's this going to happen? When am I going to get this information back? I need to know. I need to know. So, Jupiter in the 12th around this time can maybe act as a bit of a just settle in. It's going to be okay. What will be, will be. Have faith in your path. Be open to the expansion. Be open to the opportunity. You may not see the results right now. The results could be tied to a travel situation and an educational situation, but all will come to be. Okay, so Leo. Leo. Right. So, Leo, we have this lunar eclipse is happening in your 8th. Okay. Right. This is heavy stuff, Leo. This is heavy. Yeah. There could be what feels like when you do eventually take off those rose-colored glasses, and this stuff I talk about could be applied to intimacy, it could be applied to other people's money, other people's resources, but when you do eventually take off those rose-colored glasses, Leo, it could feel all consuming. Like it could be a situation where you've been in denial for so long, or maybe you've been deceived for so long. And when you do finally see things for what they are, it's like, how, you know? So if you are a Leo, right, you've got significant Leo placements, and this is something that comes up for you, right? The truth is revealed, so to speak. Information comes to light that may have been buried for years and years, right? If it really is that big, I think this is where it is important to really just be kind to yourself, to be gentle with yourself. Now, at the same time, this could be a really very interesting deep dive into the occult, into the paranormal. Hey, it could be that you can sense things really strongly around this time. And even naturally, as the lunar eclipse starts, so the impacts, the effects of the lunar eclipse starts to unfold, similar sort of thing. Yeah, you may feel a stronger sort of connection with the other side around this time period. If that is what you believe in. I mean, could be certain ghost sightings or spirit sightings, this sort of thing. Or it could be that you take some time to really look deeper into your studies, right? Your occult studies or practices there. Or maybe there's an obsessive quality here, actually, Leo, right? Where you're sort of saying to yourself, I will not let this go until I know the truth, until I know the truth, right? Maybe this stuff could be tied to other people's money, there could be like a deceptive, deceiving situation, and you really, really want to get the truth now. Now, another thing here could be, well, it could be about your dreams and your fantasies and visualization to do with, well, intimacy, emotional bonding, connecting on a much deeper level with another. There could be a lot of trust. Oh, this could be a very healing time, right? We were saying earlier about this energy being like a heart connection. This could be sort of like this heart connection that you feel with another person. Naturally, this could be more of your own self exploration there, Leo. But there is some kind of shedding. There's a release, a spiritual release, very healing. Could be really, really healing here. So I just wanted to give some variety there. Just some possibilities to this lunar eclipse. But then we also throw into the mix the fact that there is the Sun and Mercury in the second house. So I would also say around this time period to maybe try and be mindful of any harsh criticisms about your self-worth, thinking about the amount of value you even put into your productivity, right? Maybe that could be a small sort of lesson to remember, that you're not defined by how productive you are, by the results, right? Constantly just trying to results, work. Just, yeah. And hey, that stuff could also be tied in with the heart connection stuff that I was just previously mentioning. And maybe there's something to be said about surrender, letting go, emotional shifts, perhaps for many Leos, psychological shifts. Yeah. I think people often don't see how critical you can actually be about yourself, Leo, there. Yeah. Now, Jupiter in the 11th house. So Jupiter is still in the 11th house, and hey, you know what Jupiter in the 11th house could say? It could maybe act as talk about it with your friends. If there is anything, Leo, that you're struggling with, you're going through, things are a bit sad or low right now, maybe there is some insight that can be shared or gained from friends. Maybe there's something even to be said about community work or the impacts that you make within communities and groups and teams. Maybe some of this is about being able to step back and really honestly say, do you know what? I show up really generously within my friendships, within my groups. I show up as a really good version of myself. And to celebrate that in some way, you know, to give yourself that pat in the back, if you will. And maybe too, to actually join some kind of class, right? There could be an educational program that you want to join, or a group that you want to join. You just want to learn, it could be about learning from people within the group, sharing within the group. Just there is something about that community feel that could be really healing and restorative for you around this time period. All right, so Virgo. Now, before we get on to Virgo, I'm just reading through your messages. Let's see. Hello, Alexander. Welcome. Alpha Mercurial, welcome to you. Hi, I hope you find your sign to be helpful. I know that was a short while ago. Hello, Amnest, welcome to you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, shout out to all the sexy Torians, indeed. Oh, hey, you say, you let go of one of your jobs today. Okay. And KCO, your husband has a Leo rising. Hello to Shonda. Welcome to you. You've got rising Taurus. So Taurus has been done. You can go back. But now we're going to move on to Virgo. And I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit. I'm trying to keep these lives to around about 2 hours. Okay. Just a moment, Virgo. 7:40. Yeah. Okay, Virgo. Right here. Virgo, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 7th. And it's Virgo season, right? This is your season. So happy birthday. I just want to say to all of you solar Virgos. And here, the good news is Mercury is now back in your sign and it's direct. Yay! That's good news, right? So, hey, it could be that you're feeling a bit more clear, a bit more sharp. Maybe you see greater results there when it comes to any aims or goals that you may have addressed a while ago. Now things are starting to move. There could be some of that happening for you. Now, naturally, with the lunar eclipse happening in the 7th, right across from you, it does appear as if this lunar eclipse has something to say about your partnerships, about your relationships. So, in a similar way, I was saying to Gemini that when it comes to employers and their professional lives, it's good to just be mindful, like of deception, swindlers, things like that, and to make sure that they are getting all of the information they need. In a similar fashion, I'm going to say this for you. When we think about, yes, we could say employment, because the 7th house is still about business deals. It's still about contracts and agreements. So that could fall under, some kind of employment contract as an example. So I would just say to be mindful in that way and to make sure that you do go over, okay, what is being written here, what is being said here within this document, as an example. But I will say this, it could be that there is a shift. There's a shift in your partnership life, your relationship life. The way that you interact with your clients or customers could change here. Hey, maybe there is something here to be said about your dreams and visualizing something that's quite loving and healing and kind and gentle, being really receptive and open and supportive. Maybe you do feel a lot of support from others around this time period. Maybe also it is a very healing time when we consider your relationships. Could be a good time to mend or repair a few matters within relationships, or to look within yourself and to think about, do you know what, I've really grown, or I've changed a lot over the years, I've really matured, right? So there is that. And even as well, I want to think about the rose-colored glasses stuff. Maybe Virgo, it is about the reality check of having to take off your rose-colored glasses and to see certain relationships for what they are. And there may be a few things that you don't want to see, you don't like seeing, but it's just having to, I suppose you could say, be an adult about it, just having to say, like, this is the way it is. But on another note, this could also be a very loving, a very sweet time, when we consider the energies. So, hey, it could be a situation where you feel really close, you feel really like you are connected on a heartfelt level with others. So this could be a significant other, this could be a close friend. And then naturally, the thing about this is, with this being your season and with the sun and Mercury being in your first house, maybe you're more willing to communicate, what you see or what you think there. And this is also then about your aims and your goals. So what the next step is for you. I think with the eclipses opening on both the Pisces Virgo axis, naturally you being this other sign here, Virgo, I think that for many Virgos, your life path could very well change. And maybe a part of this is embracing the unknown. To embrace the unknown and to surrender a little bit, to trust in the process, right? There could be significant shifts that have something to be said about changing your identity, really changing your life path, changing your identity. Naturally, this could fall under many things. This could be about career, marriage, health, relationships there, just in general. This could be about your home life there as well. So perhaps even in this way, your priorities are changing, and they have been changing, I think, for a good while, Virgo. But maybe this is an eclipse that welcomes that adjustment more so, especially because Jupiter is in the 10th. Jupiter in the 10th house for you does have something to be said about that flexibility and that changeability happening when we think about your long-term goals. Okay, so let's now think about Libra. Trying to go a little bit faster. Oh. Okay, so Libra, we have here the lunar eclipse happening in your 6th, right? What is coming through instantly is burnout, fatigue. You've had enough, you're overwhelmed, you've got enough on your plate. This is really what I'm getting first and foremost. This is about spiritual healing, emotional healing. My goodness, Libra, if you've not taken up some kind of spiritual practice, or something you can do to unwind, to rest your mind, if you have not done that yet, I think that this is a lunar eclipse that's just going to go boom, right, okay, do it, and maybe you're going to feel so certain, so sure about it as well. After all, Mercury and the sun are also in the 12th, sort of pointing toward that mental overload. Mental overload. But I even just want to say, similar to what I was saying with Cancer, right? So I mentioned Mars in Cancer for those folks, but you've got Venus in your first house then, right? Venus in Libra. So there is, I feel, something here to be said about attracting a new experience. But that new experience comes about because the lack of imbalance, or sorry, the lack of balance, not the lack of imbalance, because of the lack of balance. So you're thinking to yourself, how can I restore that balance? This is what I always think of when I go to Libra. I always think about balance. I always think about, okay, when Libra as an archetype feels out of balance, what they're going to try and do is to bring things back into balance. And that can look and appear different based on many circumstances, based on many factors. But in this case, I think a lot of it shows up when it comes to your routines, how busy you are, how stressed out you feel, right? Your stress levels come under the sixth house. Managing your stress levels, naturally, those stress levels, that's like the whole thing of stress is a silent killer. So your stress levels can really take a toll on your body and can play a role as well in your sleep, right? So we think about the lack of sleep, being up all night, difficulty resting, difficulty relaxing because you're so stressed, right? So I just think that this is where we notice the lack of balance for you, Libra. It's your health, I think. I think a lot of this is to do with your health. And Saturn has been teaching you a lot about this, with Saturn, of course, transiting your sixth house over the past year and a half or so. Now, another possibility I just even want to say is maybe it's about lightening the load a bit or delegating tasks a little bit, Libra. You could be spinning all these plates. You could be juggling all of these balls, and it's like, oh, when am I ever gonna break here? You could just be hopping, jumping from one task to the other task. And that's the thing I was saying earlier about when there's too much toward one way of the seesaw stuff, it's too much. So it's funny how I'm talking about the seesaw stuff for your sign out of everybody the most. It's just, yeah. But yes, a lot of this then could be to do with your everyday tasks, your priorities really having to change there then, so that you feel more collected, so that you feel more aligned then, balanced, right? And that is also about feeling somewhat more settled and secure and safe from within. Now, the other thing then, of course, about this is tied to the spiritual practice stuff. So this is what I'm trying to say earlier. It could be that you take on some sort of spiritual practice as a way to help you, as a way to assist you in some way, shape, or form. Now, another possibility I just even want to mention, hey, it could be that you feel the love, you feel other people's sort of generosity and kindness around this lunar eclipse. Maybe you recognize that certain, certain coworkers or friends are just really, really helpful and healing, and they just want to help you out. They want to provide as much support as they can. Maybe even a part of this is tied to the Jupiter stuff in the ninth, right? So Jupiter, of course, does rule your third house as well, and it's in Gemini, it's in the ninth. So there could be some kind of moral support. Let's say that, some friendly support coming from your friends, from people within your communities, and they want to give to you, right? They want to see you succeed, they want to see you healthy. And maybe a small part of this is them sort of being able to reach out to you and to check in with you, but then another part of this is you being sort of vocal about what you need as well. Communication could be a big sort of important part of all of this, I think, given the way it's involved. It's playing a role within the T-square. Okay, so let's now think about Scorpio. Scorpio. Okay. So, the lunar eclipse for you, Scorpio, is happening in your fifth. Right. Let's think about first and foremost. What's coming through here is inspiration is going to come and go. That's a big keyword for Pisces, actually, is inspiration. And I'm also bringing this up because the fifth house is tied to creativity. Maybe you have been what feels like in a bit of a funk. You may feel in a bit of a creative funk, especially because Saturn is hanging out there in the fifth. Maybe there are some creative blockages that are happening. Maybe there's something here about, oh, I can't do this. Why am I worrying about this? Why am I bothering here? Imposter syndrome could be a part of this as well. Maybe a part of this too is seeing that, oh, everybody else is doing this and your rose-colored glasses are on because you're seeing the ideals. You're seeing the perfection here, or putting people on a pedestal, possibly, right? Putting people on a pedestal. Or maybe this is something that you're noticing within your communities, within your groups. You're seeing that other people are doing that, and you're assessing that more as an observer, more as an outsider, Scorpio, and you're like, still, whatever way it is, there's just something here to be said about just feeling a bit blah about your creativity, about your hobbies, things like this. Maybe a part of this, as I was trying to say, is just trust that the inspiration will come. Maybe for you, it is being able to step back when you need to step back from that creative project. And you can't just, creativity, it's not like you can't really force creativity. Let's just say that. So maybe these themes are coming up for you around this lunar eclipse. Maybe there are some realizations. Maybe there's a release. Maybe you let something go. Maybe you forgive yourself. Or maybe you just let go of expectations. You let go of those expectations and you go, do you know, I'm just going to go with the flow and I just surrender. I surrender to this and I'm just going to enjoy this. If I'm not enjoying it, then why? What's the point in this? Maybe these are some sort of creative lessons that really come through for you around this lunar eclipse, and naturally as things start to unfold as well. But then another thing could be that when we think about your romantic relationships, just romance and love and dating that fall under the fifth house, hey, there could be some sweetness, some gentleness, there's greater compassion. Maybe you find that your relationships in this way are very healing, or it could be that you are done with being disillusioned, or you yourself, you take off the rose-colored glasses, so to speak, when it comes to your romantic relationships. You really start to see things for what they are. And the thing I just even want to say, that when it comes to us seeing things for what they are, I hope I'm not making it appear as if it's always a bad thing either. I want to try and be mindful of not just seeing astrology in a very black and white way. I think I can struggle with that sometimes with my Virgo energy, perhaps. But yes, seeing things for what they are can also be a beautiful thing, right? It could be just acceptance, right? To accept a certain quality or a certain trait or a certain thing. And that's okay. You move on, right? And maybe even a part of this is tied to this Jupiter in Gemini stuff in the eighth house, right? There could be, a situation to do with intimacy that you finally start to really analyze and get answers about. There could be something about trust and opening up, right? Really communicating how you feel that comes about here. And because you're able to be open and honest about the reality of a situation, then you and your significant other or your partner or whoever, you can actually move forward then with greater clarity and closeness. There's a greater bonding present. Opportunity to bond is more present. It's more likely then. And hey, this stuff could also be about shared resources. What maybe you and another person are saving for a particular event, or for a future situation, and maybe you're still a little bit like, I'm not sure, we need to talk about this, but it's having that conversation, and you could very well get the answers that you need. Now, at the same time, I'll also just say here, with the Virgo energy happening in the 11th, the stuff to do with friendships, teams, communities, I'm just going to say this, it's just on the top of my head. Let the grown-ups sort it out themselves, because I think, here's what I think, Scorpio. Scorpio is a kind of sign, well, archetype, with Virgo on the 11th, that can feel like it needs to clean up everybody else's mess, right? So we think about how selective you can be when it comes to friendships and groups that you're a part of. You can be very, very selective, very particular about who you trust and who you let in, this kind of stuff. But once you're in, right? You can be so loyal, so compassionate. But there's also that little part of you, I think, that feels like you need to fix, right? You need to fix other people. You need to help other people. Maybe there is something to be said about taking it a step back and going, you know what, this is too much for me. This is not my responsibility to fix, to help here. They are adults. They need to sort that out amongst themselves, because there could be a bit of, blah, 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 disagreements, discord here within certain communities. So there is that. But hey, it could also be that you do bring something of quality, of value to your friendships, to your communities, and that can be really helpful, right? It's to speak, I suppose, more so from a place, or to help and speak more so from a place of, okay, I'm being rational, I'm being practical, that's it, instead of, oh, I need to fix this. I need to make sure that I fix this and sort it out so that this doesn't happen again. There's just some things maybe around this time period that is just so messy, and it's like, no, that no, I'm not getting involved in that. No, thank you. Okay, Sagittarius. Right, Sagittarius. So, well, we have this lunar eclipse happening in your 4th house. So you are one of the other signs that is going to be more so strongly impacted in very apparent ways. So the reason why I'm saying this is because, well, your family life is really being impacted by this lunar eclipse. So what does this suggest? Well, let's let's say this. I think for many Sagittarians, a lot has been coming out within your family home. A lot of information could also continue to come out. And maybe there are a few truths that you want to face, but you don't want to face, you're not ready. Not quite yet. Could be that. Even though I get it, Sagittarius, you are the sign of truth. And you are that sign that says, just be honest with me, no matter what it is, right? Yes. But it could be that things are just a bit unclear, or you don't know who to believe, you don't know which facts are correct, and all of this stuff could be quite messy. This stuff could be showing up within your family life. So thinking about family relationships, family members there. So there is that, but this could also be useful then to really settle into, okay, what do I need spiritually? Maybe this is about trying to trust in your inner guide, trust in the path ahead. And I also can't help but think that with Jupiter opposite you, right? Jupiter is your chart ruler. It's also involved in this lunar eclipse. So Jupiter opposite you says there are friends and others, partnerships, relationships there. There are people who have something to offer you, right? They have maybe some generous feedback to share. Maybe they want to help you out. they want to give to you, they want to be around you, right? You could be really very popular right now, or you can come across as rather charismatic or really enthusiastic there with others. Maybe this is looking also at how your partnerships will expand in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's difficult to actually choose. It's difficult to choose who to work with. It's difficult to choose who to be around in this way because there's just a lot. There could be a lot of opportunity present. Then again, hey, another manifestation of this could be where it feels as if everybody else is getting all of these opportunities right now. And it's like, why? There could be all these questions about why me? Why is this going on? And we bring it back a little bit then to the Pisces energy in the fourth. So, yes, there could be some hard truths that come up that are just very uncomfortable, but this is also a good opportunity for healing and to the restorative energy here. Maybe there is something to be said about really purifying, cleansing there, and surrendering, having a spiritual practice or seeking some kind of spiritual wellness and well-being within your home, setting up what feels like this spiritual sanctuary, so to speak, feeling at peace, knowing you can rest, knowing you can feel at ease there. Naturally, with that being said, maybe to get to that point, there are a few things that are to be brought to you from a significant other. Maybe it is about having that hard conversation. Maybe it is about having to make certain cuts or go your own way or follow a different path, right? There could be a lot that comes up that comes up that can feel quite intense, but it can also be quite a freeing time, I think, right? Emotionally freeing. Maybe there is something about, oh, this is a new chapter, this is a new time period of my life. I'm just so ready for the changes, right? Changes when it comes to your family life, changes when it comes to your professional life. You may really be thinking about and really just analyzing, okay, what do I want to achieve, or where do I see myself in 10 years? These kinds of questions may be coming up. Or maybe it's just about seeing that the little things that you do, the little practical pieces of advice that you share, and the solutions and the problems that you solve, these kinds of things all really matter. I'm just speaking from personal experience when I say this, but I have noticed when it comes to Sagittarians in my life that whenever I do go to share something, it may be like something I'm struggling with. It could even just be an experience that I just had. I'll share that, and Sagittarians would be really very quick to, offer some kind of advice and make it actually practical. Funny enough, yes, it's interesting. It doesn't exactly have to be practical to my, situation, but it's more based on their experience, if you know what I mean. So you could say something like, oh, well, I went to this class this morning, and, a Sagittarian may say, oh, I've been to that and I find that it does this for me. And then there's that experience, there's their experience mixed in with, oh, I can see how this actually works then, how this can be useful then. So all of this is to say, perhaps these things become important to you, right? It is about, okay, what about the usefulness, the practicalities when it comes to your professional life? What little small improvements and changes would you like to make? Capricorn. Um Okay, so Capricorn, we have the lunar eclipse, which is happening in your third. Okay, well, I think what I want to say here, first and foremost, with Pluto retrograde in your first house, you are finishing through a few things up. You are finishing a few things up when it comes to your aims, your goals. Yes, your life path, your direction, your identity, your physical appearance. There's a lot that is being addressed, and you may be thinking very seriously about the next step. Good thing about this, naturally, or the useful thing about this, is that you can use Pluto retrograde to your benefit to kind of, okay, let's review the game plan, so to speak. I know for myself, I'm very Capricorn dominant, and I can see this. I can strongly see this. So when we combine this in a bit with the lunar eclipse, so we've got this lunar eclipse happening in your third, there could be a lot on your mind around this period. There could be a lot to do with education. Maybe you're sort of similar to Cancer. We were talking to Cancer earlier, but you're similar to Cancer in that you're considering the longevity here of your education. And maybe there is a curiosity about taking on some kind of new program, right? We're thinking about all of the intellectual stuff. We're thinking about your studies and learning in general here, with the third house and ninth house being third and ninth houses being activated. But you see, for you, with the lunar eclipse happening in the third, maybe a part of this is let something be in the past to sort of bring something to a close, right? Maybe there is something to be said about surrendering. So surrendering to um, the possibility that you might not go to study a certain subject anymore. I'll even just say from an example, seeing as I do have a lot of Capricorn. Recently, and maybe this is slightly because I can be a bit impulsive. My moon is in Aries, so I can be quite impulsive. But recently, I did have this thought of, oh, maybe I can go and get a master's, right? So my degree is in travel and tourism management. And I was thinking maybe I could go and get a master's degree. Um, and that quickly faded. But maybe a part of this is, no, Hannah, just that, surrender to that. You don't have to do that. Maybe a part of this is because, and I want to say this, I want to say this in a way, hopefully, that I don't offend or upset anybody, but we don't really need those qualifications to um enter into a particular career path that we want. There's a lot of debates about the real value of a degree as it is. I know that. So yes, maybe a part of this is just thinking about, well, what do you already know? And of course, it is about expanding upon your education there, but just keeping it a bit more to the everyday, and maybe not necessarily overwhelming yourself with, oh, I need to have this accomplishment, I need to achieve it this, right? You are the sign that I think you're overachievers. Let's just say that. And I'm trying to say this in a way where it's not that I don't want you to be overachievers, because there's nothing wrong with achieving. I there's nothing wrong with it. It's just more if it becomes an issue, if it becomes a problem where you're constantly just in that, right? You're just constantly on to, oh, I need to make this, I need the results for this. You're jumping on to the next thing, the next project. And I know that within myself, I can be like that. I can be like, okay, that project is finished, on to the next one, on to the next one. And maybe in this way, this is a lunar eclipse, Capricorn, that says, how can you reflect? How can you reflect upon what you have already achieved? How can you give yourself so much credit for what you've already built? We think about how Pluto is finishing up in your sign. Give yourself credit. Take some time, possibly, to go into that solitude space, right, with Pisces, to go into that resting space and go, right, okay, well, what has already happened, and can I appreciate that. So, yes, taking that time maybe to rest the mind a little bit and to take some of the pressure off slightly, to take some of the pressure off. There's something here about tuning in with your own spiritual awareness. And when you just push to achieve and you don't really give yourself that time to appreciate what you've already achieved. Now, another possibility here could be a lot of healing actually when it comes to sibling relationships, the heart connection, feeling more emotionally close maybe, or maybe there's also deceptive stuff, things coming out, deceit, lies about siblings and cousins, and that can maybe take you away from really feeling the depth and the emotion of everything. So, yes, on one hand, it could be that you are deceived, or it's like, oh my gosh, how could that be? But on the other hand, it could be a time of forgiveness, a good time to be there for siblings, to be there for certain relatives. And hey, perhaps a part of this is about travel, right? A part of this is about travel and the desire to want to especially travel with another person, right? With your significant other, perhaps. Maybe there's plans in place there to travel and to even explore something outside of your comfort zone. Maybe there's a need for adventure a little bit, but it's still having to be somewhat sensible, as you do, Capricorn. If there's a trip or whatever, I do see this as you preferring to plan things out, right? Especially with Virgo in the ninth house. So yes, maybe there is just something to be said about how these eclipses will open up a whole new time period of your life where you're like, right, okay, I'm ready to spread my wings. I'm ready to try new things here. But you're also going to do so in this planned out, somewhat structured, sensible way. Okay, so Aquarius, we've only 2 left, so it's fine. We went over the time, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay. Aquarius. So Aquarius, for you. All right, so this lunar eclipse is happening in your second house. Well, Aquarius, what can we say for you? I think that this is certainly a lunar eclipse that is going to force you to address what your intentions are, what your dreams are as well, when it comes to your resources, when it comes to your finances. What are you building? Like what is it that you truly want? What do you yearn for? What is the goal? What is the mission? Maybe there is something to be said about surrendering to new possibilities, or being open to new possibilities. The opportunities that could very well pour through, or the doors that could open whenever you do sort of let go. And maybe there is a part of this where it says dissolve the ego a bit. That's what we find with Pisces, naturally. The sun is still a part of this, right? So there could be a part of the lunar eclipse and a part of this new cycle that is about surrendering the ego or dissolving the ego in some way, shape, or form. So, for example, it could be here, Aquarius, that you really, really thought that you would earn such and such, or you would earn a certain amount of money doing such and such. But, times change. Maybe you know this more than most, to be honest, Aquarius. Yeah, times change. And the reason why I said that previous point is because you are the sign Aquarius. You're Saturn ruled, right? You're Saturn ruled. So you can stick at something for a long period of time. You can be very determined. You can be very focused people. But with Uranus naturally being your other ruler, in a flash, out of nowhere, you can just change. You can change your mind. You can change career path. You can change you can change your identity, so to speak. Um, Change what you like, your style. You think about how you tend to be ahead of the curve, right? You're the kinds of you are the archetype, the sign that will start something before the majority of people have started it. And then all of a sudden, loads of people start it, and then it becomes trending or popular or whatever. And then you're already on to the next thing anyway. So that's what yeah. So the thing here, I think, about this is just to remember that. And I get at the same time that you can find it challenging. I think when it comes to change, I think we can all struggle with change in some way, shape, or form. But I think just as an archetype here, you can at times struggle with changes, especially when they are so, you know, jarring and so intense. And maybe this is a lunar eclipse that's sort of highlighting this stuff in some way. When we think about possibly the changes coming up here to do with your resources and your materials, and how it is about, okay, well, I really, really thought that for so long I was going to be da da da. But then coming up to this time period, I see a different path. Or maybe you want something new, actually. You want to be more free. You want to spread your wings. Maybe with Jupiter in the fifth house, you want more free time, right? You want more time off. You want more time to enjoy your hobbies. You want to go on more holidays or vacations, etc. You want to spend more time with your romantic partner or your lover there. Maybe, you want to have a family, you want to have children, and you're having all of these ideas. And Aquarius, let's just say you have many ideas. With Gemini in the fifth, my goodness, you can really jump from one hobby to another. I've got an Aquarius stellium. My son is an Aquarius. Before astrology, the amount of hobbies I had. I like to I like to write songs. I like to sing. I tried to play an instrument. Did not do well with that at all. I love making videos. I still do that, obviously. Um, I have been thinking of possibly getting into crocheting. Have not started that. It's just an idea. I tried to do roller skating, didn't work because I'm actually afraid of heights. I was afraid of falling, so my roller skates are still in their box. So yeah, I hope you get what I mean. Do you relate? Do you relate, Aquarius, in some way? So all of this is to say, right? Changing times, Aquarius, are on the horizon for you. And a lot of this as well, I think, is about actually knowing what your priorities are when it comes to any debts, repayments, loans. Maybe you want to get a mortgage, maybe there are big sort of life decisions to be made here, Aquarius. And this is an eclipse that's going to open all of this up for you. A whole new couple of years here, right? So over the next couple of years, as the eclipses happen in both your 8th and 12th and second houses, we're going to see major adjustments and shifts to do with your financial landscape. And that, of course, can be more on a personal level, right? Your personal income, your personal finances, but that could also be more of an intimate shared level, right? So this could be about your intimate relationships. This could be about marriage, commitment. Maybe also this is a very healing time when it comes to your psyche, right? All the psychological stuff, the emotional stuff coming up here. Maybe there is also something to be said about making your occult practices and studies more practical, more grounded for people, and simplified for people. You have some interests there. Okay, lastly, then, Pisces. Oh, okay, Pisces. Rightio, Pisces, you're up. the last sign, and then I'm going to read through the chat after you, Pisces. This is your lunar eclipse, Pisces. Happy lunar eclipse. This is so much about you, okay? So with this lunar eclipse happening in your first house, yeah, so much about you, so much about your identity. And honestly, you already are this sign. I think that you can be very fluid and you can be adaptable, very, very adaptable and changeable. You could have a certain style and then change. Your style could just change like that. You may present as a certain way and then be open to another way of presenting. You can also, I think, tend to mirror, right? You tend to mirror other people, and you can be very, very receptive and very open. You can give off a very serene, very healing presence where people feel very calm, very chilled in your company. And I also think that many people can sense that you don't judge them. Like they don't feel like you're placing any sort of expectations on them or things like that. So yes, I think that this is a lunar eclipse that could very well indicate a major shift, a major identity shift, whether this be you actually having to set a healthy boundary between you and another person, because that, I suppose, that is a thing. Projecting can happen, where people can project a lot onto you. So there could be something about healthy boundary settings. This also could be about taking some kind of control of a situation, sort of similar to what I was saying earlier. With too much Pisces, we can be really, like, what's the term, laxy daisy, and just sort of, float from one thing to another, and there's no sense of direction. But actually, with Saturn in your first house, and then with Virgo, shining its light on the moon, there is something to be said about getting things together, right? Being somewhat more structured and organized and responsible. Maybe also, this is about taking accountability in some way, shape, or form, taking accountability for your actions, for your past mistakes. Maybe it's also about having to address the reality of a situation, and that could be applied to your relationships, that could be applied to your career path, just anything that's really major in your life in this way. So taking off your rose-colored glasses, so to speak, and being somewhat mindful to a more mature, more reserved way forward, perhaps a more sort of well-rounded way forward. Yes, a lot to do with responsibility, and maybe as well, other people can really help you out, because naturally the Sun and Mercury are there in the seventh. So remember that there are other people there who may support, who may give some kind of help, and their services can be offered too. So this could be a very likable time period, right, where you feel quite popular. Maybe you really get together with people around this time period. You're a bit more social there. Could also be that you get a few things organized when it comes to your business. Certain contracts and agreements are made there. And yeah, just cleaning a few things up there within your relationships. Everyday matters are going to be highlighted. And naturally, with Jupiter, so Jupiter is one of your chart rulers, that's in the fourth house. So Jupiter in Gemini here as part of this, hey, maybe there is something to be said about the facts and the information that you need when it comes to work, when it comes to your life path. The information is not quite adding up just yet, and maybe it is about having to wait a little bit, having to be a bit patient. Hey, this could be applied to home renovations even. This could be applied to your housing situation, your living situation, family stuff. My goodness, there could be a lot of chitter chatter, a lot of family stuff going on there, many events to go to, many things to plan for. Could be that you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by it all, Pisces, to be honest, because you're just kind of being thrown in at the deep end and like, come on, you got to socialize, you got to be out there. And you're like, no, I kind of just need to recharge a little while. Maybe you can try to find that balance a bit. But I think these are themes, right, that you're going to be coming up against over the next few years. And hey, it could actually be quite exciting. It could be a quite exciting thing, especially because, with Saturn traveling through your first house, there's something that's being built that will last you for a long period of time. And so that stuff that's being built could be due to your own dedication, to your own devotion. I mean, this could even be your devotion to a spiritual practice, for example. This could be devotion to a creative outlet that you have, right? Of course, Pisces, you can be very musical, artistic, creative in some way, So, yeah, I would just say, as stressy as it may seem or feel, over the next couple of years here with these eclipses, especially over the next year still, just trust that whatever you're working on, whatever you're trying to build, things are going to come to fruition. And the beautiful thing, I suppose, about Saturn is you do reap what you sow. Okay, so that is everybody. Let me see here. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, everyone. And again, I want to remind you, if you want to join the Patreon, you can do so by going to the link below. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over there for all of your support. I'm just reading through here. I want to say hello to Kina. Welcome to you. I know that was a while ago that you joined. I hope you're doing well. But you did say that you resonated with Scorpio rising. Cool. Okay. And Frankie, hello to you. Thank you for joining. Okay. Awesome. I think, let me see. Alexander, you say you don't need qualifications unless you live in Germany. Yeah, that's true. It's different depending on where you live. It is different. Also depends on, what career path you take. And okay. I think we're good. Thank you everyone for joining. Yes, thank you so much, David. Thank you to Black Butterfly and XISCA. I just want to say hello to you and thanks for being here. Thank you, KCO, as well. Alexander there. And yeah, I think that is us. And one final thing, if you did enjoy this live stream, oh, is it going to move? Okay. If you did enjoy this live stream, you can always buy me a coffee, but there's no pressure to do that. But if you would like to book a reading with me, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy lunar eclipse in Pisces. May it serve you well. And I will